Boom! What's goes happening, everybody? It's your boy Ferris Madonna, and welcome to another great edition of the Rewatchers Council. But we are doing our MCU branch of our famed series. Today, we are talking with the Incredible Hulk. Will this be an incredible episode? Absolutely. But
I mean, we're not talking with the Incredible Hulk.
no,
Ferris.
I don't know, but we'll see if if it holds up, if we like it, what's going on. But I do have a couple of questions for everybody, guys. Hold up, where the questions? I created some questions. Oh snap!
No, they're in there. They're just in the previous folder, I believe.
Oh okay.
Um, introduce one of us first,
Well,
and you
let's
find
just
them.
yes, I'll find them. Well, like always, forever and ever, my right hand person, Adelia. How are you doing? How are you living?
I'm good, Ferris. Not so excited to talk about this movie as it's probably my least favorite in the MCU, but it's not bad. So that's one thing to say about it.
All right, but Matt, what about you, my man? It's my main man, Matt, coming with us again.
Yep.
Second time
Yep.
around. The Incredible Hulk. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah. This movie was okay. It's kind of run of the mill for me. I didn't get too excited to, especially rewatching it. Maybe the first time I saw it, I was a little, but yeah, it was okay.
All right, let's break it down. We got some. I got some notes for you guys. June 13th, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you, Matt?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
All right. Be real with you, Matt. I couldn't tell you either. I have no
Yeah.
idea where I was on June 13th, 2008. Adelia, can you tell us where you were?
I can because I actually went and saw this opening day.
Ah. You wait, you actually watched this opening day?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, how was that?
Um, it was after Iron Man. It was slightly disappointing.
I
Um, it's just not as I won't say it's not as well made because I think it's maybe one of the more well made films in the MCU in certain regards, but it just the story just didn't get me the way that the story with Iron Man did. I think that they went a different approach of how to tell the origin story for Bruce Banner, and I think I would have preferred the story of what we see in the first little montage of this movie of how he becomes the Hulk more than the story they actually decided to tell.
they kind of speed rush it through the opening credits scene, basically.
Well, and I can understand why they did that. You got to remember this movie comes out 5 years after Ang Lee's Hulk movie.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was also that TV show back in the day. Like there was a lot of programs or movies that have told the story of how the Hulk becomes the Hulk. And so they went a different approach to it, and I applaud them for trying it. But I think I personally would have preferred the MCU's, how he actually gets involved in the program with Ross and meets Betty Ross and all of that than what we got.
Yeah, I know I'm with you on that one. I actually never seen Ang Lee's Hulk. I still haven't to this day.
I haven't either, but
Yeah. So maybe one day we'll see that. But I got a simple question. Adelia, do you still like this movie?
no.
Okay.
I just this if I had to rank my MC rankings, which I probably will do on our letterboxd, we'll get that up and going here
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this. I think we should all do a ranking of our MCU movies. I would rank this last of all the ones that I've seen because there are a few that I haven't seen yet. Simply because I feel like a lot of the characters in this movie we just never see again. Obviously, we see Hulk again, but it's a different actor. By the time we see Ross again, he's a much more laid back version of himself as
Mm-hmm.
the whatever he was in Civil War and then turning into the character that we see going all the way through to Captain America 4, which I still haven't seen that one, so I haven't experienced the Harrison Ford version of this character yet either.
Mm-hmm.
So the to me the way Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo play the Hulk is very different. um it's the same character, but Mark Ruffalo has a little bit more um, charm to it to me than Edward Norton does. But Edward Norton does a fantastic job in this movie because this isn't about Bruce trying to be charming or whatever. This is about Bruce trying to survive and get answers and get whatever this thing that causes him to turn into the big angry green rage monster out of him. And I think he plays the serious parts a little better than Mark Ruffalo does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I it's actually really a shame that we didn't get to see more of Edward Norton playing this character, but I do like the Mark Ruffalo version. However, but with Mark Ruffalo, I feel like they made him a little bit more comedic and less serious and
Somewhat timid.
somewhat timid. Yeah.
Yeah, because Edward Norton in this movie, I'll go to Matt's. When it hulks up, oh, he hulks up, and he kills people.
Hmm.
People die. You know what I mean? Mark Ruffalo, he's like, I don't want to, I gotta hulk up and smash. But Edward Norton is like, I'm killing somebody. You know what I mean? So he has to be because he realizes this is a very serious thing when I change. So I have to be serious and not changing. So I think Edward Norton plays it very well for what the Hulk and Bruce Banner have to be because it's not happy go lucky Mark Ruffalo and oh you know what my secret is, Tony? I'm always angry. It's not that. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to be angry. They kind of throw it back that. Matt, simple question. Do you still like this movie?
As a whole, no, I don't care for this one as much. The Edward Norton definitely fit the tone of this movie better than the direction they ended up going with the Hulk and the rest of the
Hmm.
MCU. So I'll give him that for sure. And it was cool seeing them try to fight it and all that. But when you see a Hulk movie, you want to see the Hulk. You know what I mean? You don't want to
Yeah.
see the dude trying not to be the Hulk. Like, even though they kind of did that with Ruffalo's character too for a little bit in the MCU, he couldn't turn back to Hulk. But um, yeah, no, just with the way movies are now and shit, the tone of this one is just a little off to me.
Yeah, it doesn't fit what the rest of the MCU became. And I think one of the reasons why it doesn't fit what the rest of the MCU became is because of the actor change and the tonal shift with this character. If they had kept Edward Norton and kept the tone of Bruce Banner, the Hulk, like the seriousness, the sort of awkward nerdiness of him in this movie, to himself, the same, I think that I'd probably enjoy Hulk a little bit more in the MCU than I do, where I feel like he becomes the guy who's either delivering the punchline, like literally in the punch of Thor in that one scene in the Avengers when they, crash into the station or whatever, and he just punches Thor and sends Thor flying. Or by the time he's like smart Hulk after Infinity War, and it's just like joke, 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 joke. Like that's not Hulk to me. And that doesn't fit with the Bruce Banner we started out with here. So it's like they're two separate characters, even though they're the same character.
Yeah. Also, I think because also too, because Matt, I'm with you about when you want to see Hulk, you want to see the Hulk, right? But I think we do that, right? We're gonna see the Hulk. He doesn't want people to see the Hulk, but the Hulk ends up coming out anyway, right?
Yeah.
So look, Bruce can fight the Hulk as much as he wants. It's gonna come out, and he did. In Brazil at Culver University. At the end, he shows up in 3 different times. So I think it does that. Going to my question, I still like this movie? I've always liked this movie. I've always liked it. I understand it. You're like, oh, you should have seen the background and stuff like that because
A little more of it than we got.
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like we
I
should have
understand
seen.
that. I agree with because the common fan, the common moviegoer, our parents, our brothers, us. Sometimes we haven't read the comics. We probably didn't see Ang Lee or the Hulk TV show. We don't really know the origin. We know he's Gamma, big green guy, scientist. I mean,
Hmm.
that's what we know. And they kind of sped through the stuff, but I'm in the camp that the moviegoer is smarter than we think. So they picked up on it and like, okay, now I'm up to speed. So I like this movie. I still haven't hated. I still don't hate this movie. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't
Because
hate it.
yeah,
I
I
just want
like
to
it.
make that very clear. I don't hate this movie.
Yeah, you just
I
don't
don't
like
hate
it.
any of the MCU movies.
Yes,
I just would prefer practically every other movie in the MCU that I've seen to this one.
valid, valid. Also, too, let's talk about before I want to bring up some stats about the movie, but let's talk about the let's talk about the stats first. Then we'll talk about the big elephant in the room. The stats, like I said, it came out June 13th, 2008, directed by Louis Leterrier.
Louis Leterrier.
Louis Leterrier, his only MCU film, technically his
Hmm.
only one. Written by Zach Penn, who also has writing credits for X2 and X-Men: The Last Stand. Talk about duality of man.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Zach. He also co-wrote or helped write The Avengers.
He came up with the story with Joss Whedon for the
Yeah,
Avengers.
he came with top stars. Like we said, Edward Norton as Bruce Banner, Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, and good old Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky. Shout out to Tim Roth. You know what I mean?
There's a lot to dive into with Blonsky,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
Blonsky, yeah.
Especially considering his next usage in the MCU was the She-Hulk series.
Yeah. The budget was 150 million. 219 nowadays adjusted in inflation.
Hmm.
The box office in 2008 opening weekend 55.4 million dollars in 2008. Now that's 81 million adjusted for inflation.
That's
Total
still
dom-
good.
that's still good. Total domestic 134.8. Uh, Inflation 197. The domestic gross ranking 34th out of 36 at the time of recording, but Thunderbolt is below it right now, and it's only been out for a week, so it's probably going to be 35. So we'll
Yeah.
see that because I've seen Thunderbolts
I haven't yet. I'm seeing it tomorrow.
pretty good.
I keep hearing
Um,
good things.
yeah, total worldwide 264.8 in '08, 397 now. That's what
387. Yeah.
387 now. So there's that. But let's talk about the big elephant in the room.
Hmm.
Edward Norton gets fired.
He does.
And it was over creative differences. A lot of people know that Edward Norton is a very creative guy. He wants his voice to be heard within the creative process of every character he plays. But unfortunately, Marvel doesn't care. they don't
Yeah.
they don't want your opinion on stuff. All right? They have a plan. More specifically, Kevin Feige had a plan, and he
Hmm.
stuck to his plan most of the time. He probably listened to some people here and there, probably the directors, but he wasn't going to listen to Edward Norton because Edward Norton, there was a disagreement on tone, right? They
Hmm.
Marvel wanted a short action film. He wanted character driven. Because if we were to think about it, man, imagine you're a scientist, and then you become a monster like that. A horrible human. What are you guys' opinion on that, Matt?
Yeah, I thought he handled all that part really well. Because like I did see Ang Lee's Hulk, and I liked him more than Eric Bana for sure as Hulk. Um, Especially the scientist part, the human part. But yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
No, you good, Matt? You good? Delia.
Yeah, I think he handled the parts where it's Edward Norton really, really well. Um, like I said, I prefer his version of Bruce to Mark Ruffalo's.
Yeah, I do too.
Um, and like that you understand in this movie that there's someone he's like fighting to get this out of him for because he wants to go talk to Betty and make things up to her because of what happened when he
Almost
turned
kills her.
into the Hulk and almost kills her. um you lose all of that when you make the actor switch and you don't bring Liv Tyler back to interact, and you have Bruce eventually having a thing with Natasha that can't go anywhere. And I don't understand why they didn't bring Liv Tyler back sooner than they did because I heard she might be in Cap 4. Um, I don't understand the direction that they changed here. I get that um, Marvel had a plan and they stuck to their plan, and that Edward might have had different thoughts on the direction of the character than
Mhm.
what Marvel wanted, but I just like his take better, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. He's a very good actor, man.
He's a
I
very good
watched
actor.
I watched him in a Complete Unknown. Man, he was pretty damn good as the guy who I don't remember who he played. I think, but he played did he play? No, he didn't play Woody Guthrie. No, no, no. He played Woody Guthrie's friend. Yeah. So I don't remember his name. The guy who helped create the folk festival. But I agree with you. I actually like Edward Norton's take on it better because he takes it's a very serious thing, because he kill people, so it's very serious. Mark Ruffalo was a little bit more jokey, so there's that.
Hmm.
But yeah, but let's get right into it. What was your guys' favorite moment in the show? By the way, can you take me down for a bit? Sorry.
Yeah. Um, my favorite moment in this movie is probably, um, strangely enough, because I think it's way over the top with the firepower used on a college campus, is the incident at Culver University where he turns into the Hulk and but you can tell still knows Betty and still knows that he loves Betty and protects Betty. Um, that's probably my favorite moment in this entire movie. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, same, but I did like the fight with Abomination.
That's
That was
good too.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was cool to see someone that could match his strength, kind of, for at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked seeing how determined Tim Roth was in the movie
Yeah,
to keep the Hulk.
let's talk about Emil Blonsky, the character Tim Roth plays.
Yeah,
Seems like he just wants to be a good soldier at first. He's got a mission in Brazil. He's trying to help, get Banner for Ross, Thunderbolt Ross. And he goes to and encounters the Hulk in that factory where Bruce had been working,
yep,
and suddenly he becomes almost obsessive about Hulk,
yeah.
in that he wants to he
He
sees
wants
that
that
as
power.
he sees that as power, and he wants that power. So first they do the Super Soldier Serum on him, and I find that part interesting, that they tied it immediately into the Super Soldier Serum, and like that's what they were working on that caused Bruce to do this.
Yeah.
Um, Ferris, your thoughts on the first impression of Emil Blonsky?
Oh wait, what was your favorite part of the movie, real quick?
Oh yeah, your
Uh,
favorite part of the movie, then first impressions of Emil Blonsky.
um, it was the battle at Culver University where
Yeah.
all hell broke loose, and he destroys the atrium, and he goes after him, and then my favorite thing is about it. Also, there's like, this was post, like we said, Super Soldier, where Emil Blonsky rolls up and he's like, "What? That's all you got?" And he like punches Blonsky and he smashes into a tree, and then that
Yeah.
was that was funny, but it wasn't funny, but it was funny. It wasn't funny, but it was really funny. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that entire sequence was pretty good.
Real
Um,
quick, the one thing I'll say though, rewatching that scene, is when at the very end of it, when that big fireball comes out and he covers Betty. After watching it, especially how long the fire was blazing over him, I was like, "There's no way she would have been okay. Like she would
yeah,
Yeah.
have been burnt or something." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like when
no,
he held
yeah,
her
yeah.
up, I was like, "Dude, no way."
Yeah. No, I'm
Sorry.
Yeah.
with you on that one. No, no. So yeah, so Emil Blonsky, like, I like the introduction of him. You know what I mean? Because Super Soldier. Because they were saying like, the way they end up panning out is that, like, he's a grizzly old vet. You know what I mean? He's coming down into his 40s, and so he's a little slow. He's a little slow on the reaction, and does he still got it and stuff like that. And then that's what kind of then ties into, like, what if the line he goes by is, if I could take what I know now and put it in my 25-year-old body, I would be a monster. I mean, I would be a
Mhm.
monster. And then Ross is like, what if I can make that happen? But then it also proves to me that when I was watching this full movie, I was watching it, and it just kept talking to me. It's like, because the Super Soldier Serum, we know it. It started in the 40s, probably in the,
Mhm.
the the late 30s, the 40s, and trying to find the right guy. Like that scene in Captain America when we talk about Captain America later.
Yeah.
They're like, who's the right guy? And then Dr. Stanley Tucci, I don't remember the guy's name.
Abraham Erskine.
Abraham Erskine, Dr. Erskine, he finds the right guy, and it's Steve Rogers, right? He's like, you're the right guy. So I'm like, so over the years, America has the Super Soldier Serum, right? Why is it every single time post that guy, it has ended horribly? I keep telling him. So it kept telling me, it's like, is it the guy? Or is it the doctor who made the serum? Are they not getting his calculations right? But Emil, Dr. Erskine probably wrote it down for them, like, this is how you make it. So they probably have the way to make it. It's just that the guy they choose every single time, post Steve Rogers, is not the right guy. Because Steve has something in him that innately makes him the best super soldier. Because they put it in Blonsky. Blonsky goes crazy.
Yeah.
He becomes genocidal. You know what I mean?
And it seems like promote your strengths or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So
I will say as well, I think this is a reason why a different type of super soldier serum, but the super soldier serum works in Bucky, because Bucky inherently is a good guy like Steve is.
yes,
He's the right kind of guy to have that serum in him, even though the Russians and Hydra brainwash him and use him as a weapon. It doesn't because like the thing that I noticed about Blonsky is he gets almost junky like about it. He needs
yes,
another hit of the serum and another hit of the serum, and that leads him to when he's in Samuel Stern's office and they've just done what they've done. It leads him to want Stearns to give him a hit of the stuff that they got out of Bruce,
which is the stronger stuff.
the stronger stuff. I really enjoy the way Tim Roth plays that.
Yeah,
Because like he gets skinny almost from like his body. I don't know, rejecting the serum or whatever, but he needs it more and more until he gets that hit from Stearns and turns into the Abomination.
yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. That's why I like it, right? Because speaking of another super soldier, the Red Guardian. You know what I mean? And he didn't go. Inherently, the Red Guardian. Yes, he was a part of Hydra or the USSR, but in the end, you can really see like Black Widow. He's not a bad guy.
He's a good guy, yeah.
He's a good guy. And that's what I'm saying. Like every time they do a super soldier, he loses.
It's either a good man gets it and
Yes.
it works, or it's a guy who isn't a good guy gets it and it turns into a disaster.
Yeah. I think Blonsky is the only time I've seen like a guy like completely like lose his mind with it. I don't think, because I've only seen Bucky, Steve, and the Red Guardian, big fans of all three.
But they mentioned that they've tried this before.
Yes. And they've all died. I'm so dumb. Carl Lumley. Isaiah
Bradley.
Yeah. So
Great,
Isaiah Bradley.
a good guy who got it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And unfortunately with him, it wasn't voluntary. It was experimentation, which is another thing we can talk about.
When we get to that.
But yeah, so like, so I loved. I quite enjoyed The Incredible Hulk. I really like this movie because
there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah,
I just prefer others.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best Hulk movie ever because we haven't really gotten a lot.
I would say that's great. One of the things I like about this movie, from like a technical standpoint, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when it's like Betty and Bruce talking, the camera's moving. It's not just a stationary shot. It's constantly moving, and it gives like a texture to the scene, if you will, that I think is really interesting, and it's not done in any other Marvel movie.
Oh wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I may have to go back and We watched a couple of those scenes. I really did. But
Yeah.
you know, so who's the real villain though of this movie? Yeah, we
Ross.
talk about it's Ross. Okay, so yeah, Blonsky's Blonsky, but Ross is he's a psychopath. You know what I
Ross.
mean?
Yeah. Like I totally understand. I totally feel Betty when she's like, I haven't talked to my father in a couple years. Because he's just like out there using the might of the military to hunt down her old boyfriend because he basically almost killed his daughter.
Mm-hmm. But it was because Ross wanted to create a program
Mm-hmm.
to create a super soldier. So Ross doesn't want to admit that it's his fault. So he has to put the blame
And
on somebody.
he's never told Betty what he tells Bruce when Betty's in the hospital and Bruce goes to see her and Ross is there. We find out what he said to Bruce then, which
Yeah.
is he wants to cut me open and get it out of me, which will kill him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically.
So like he's just on a mission to kill the man his daughter loves, basically. And
Because he wants
Betty doesn't tolerate that.
yeah,
And I
because
appreciate that.
he wants to create the greatest military force on planet Earth. Because if he can make all his soldiers gamma infused maniacs, he would win everything. It would be easy, you know. So,
Yeah.
so like yeah, that's why he's like hell bent on this. He wants him. I don't want to spoil Cap as you know for you and the people, but in Cap 4, he kind of okay. I'm not gonna do it.
No, you can
I'm not
say it.
gonna.
You can say it.
Okay, he does what he wanted to do in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He finds someone and he basically uses them to create the greatest military force of all time. You know, that's he does that because that's what happens. You know, what he wanted to do with Bruce, he ends up doing it with somebody else in a different capacity. Bruce is more a frontline, put them as gamma soldiers. This other person that they had in this movie, he does something else with. So he ends up doing what he always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Thunderbolt Ross, is a guy that governments don't like,
Yeah.
but they need and want because he's willing to do their dirty work, even the things they're not ready to stomach. He's willing to do. He's like, I'll send an Apache helicopter to a college university and
Yeah.
multiple gunships and multiple 50
Can
cows.
we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, you
Talk
know,
about an absolutely over the top response at a public place.
but so realistic.
So I don't know if I'd say that it's that realistic, Ferris, because I don't see any. Like
It's very realistic.
I just don't think that we see too many active military campaigns going on at a college campus like
Nowadays,
that.
but
Yeah,
back in the day, yes.
back in the day, yes, but like present day.
I still think it was like people maybe you onto something there, but trust me, when I was watching this scene, I was like, yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah, it sounds about right. If they were going after like a regular person, two gunships are okay. You know what I mean? But they were going after the Colt, so I assumed they would have 4 gunships and multiple 50 caliber rifles and all that stuff. So
I don't like military stuff.
no,
Is what it comes
no,
down
I'm
to.
with you, Adelia. But when I saw this response in the movie, I was like, yeah, this sounds about right. This is definitely what would happen.
I also love that we had the 2 guys walking around campus,
The
hiding
student
behind the
reporter,
tree.
student
One of
reporter.
whom's a student reporter gets the video of it.
Yeah, and Ross is watching and he said, damn it, they caught me. But the Ross knows that nothing's gonna happen to him because he's like, they'll forget about it and I'm gonna move on and I'm gonna destroy another country somewhere else because the government needs me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like he doesn't care. He doesn't care what happened. He doesn't care. But it is what it is. So
What other questions do you have, Ferris?
well, right now, we're towards my end credit scene discussion, but we're not there yet. But me, I'm just like, I think we've kind of broken down this entire film. I don't think we really have much to say. Anything else?
Yeah.
Unless you guys have something. Matt,
I, d-
Adelia?
I wish we'd gotten more Betty. I'll say that
Yeah.
again because I think that she's a really interesting, intelligent woman in this movie who has agency for herself. She's not talking to her father over this stuff.
Hmm.
Um, like she's dating the guy because she's who's Ty Burrell, which is hysterical that it's
Yeah,
Ty Burrell.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? There's some people in this movie that pop up and I'm like, oh, you're in this film?
Oh
Really?
yeah, the Martin Starr
Yeah.
um,
With the pizza.
appearance with the pizza. Um, but I think Betty is a character that I really liked and connected with because like I can get behind that, like her reactions to things and stuff like that. I don't think that I just wish they'd brought her back. She would
Yeah.
have brought in so much more interesting characterizations to Bruce Banner in the subsequent films, even if you don't bring back Edward Norton. I just think having Betty would have made it all that much more interesting. Um, Fun fact on the Martin Starr appearance in this film, he plays the same character in the Spider-Man trilogy
So that teacher is an alumnus from Culver
for
University?
Culver University. Yeah,
Oh my, okay. All right. Hell
it
yeah.
yeah. Kevin Feige confirmed the character in the uh, Incredible Hulk was retroactively named Roger Harrington, and that's the same character that Starr plays in the Spider-Man movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love it when they do things like that. Like we'll talk to it when we get deal with Iron Man 2 next week, but there's a cool one that they connected in there too.
That's great. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I generally can't wait for that. But let's talk about it, guys. We're in 30 minutes in, the end credit scene.
Mhm.
Thunderbolt Ross is licking his wounds after he failed in his mission,
Drinking a green drink, which I
which
just
is
think is
apropos. I don't know what that is. What is
it's
that?
it's got to be green apple something.
Yeah, but I thought Thunderbolt Ross was a whiskey neat guy myself, but a
Yeah, I don't
green.
know what he's drinking, but it's very poignant that he's drinking something green.
It looks like it looks like absinthe. Absinthe is green, I think. So I don't know.
I,
Maybe.
I I'm pretty sure absinthe is illegal in this country, so
Yeah, well, if you know a guy. But speaking of a guy walks in to the bar
mhm.
as Thunderbolt Ross is throwing down some brews or shots, wearing a suit, looking all dapper and nice.
Tony Stark, you always wear such nice suits.
He
I love that
sucks.
line
He's yeah, it's
because
amazing.
it's got the double meaning.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Tony Stark shows up and he tells Thunderbolt Ross a famous phrase. He's like, "What if I tell you we're making up a team?" And then boom, end of movie. I guess you can call it an end credit scene, but there was no credits played before the
It's
scene started,
yeah,
so it's kind of just the last scene of the
it's just
movie.
kind of the last scene of the movie. Yeah.
But let's talk about it. There's not really much to talk about. It's just laying groundwork for the Avengers movie. But
Yeah.
Adelia, what do you think?
I think that this was a nice nod to people that got all excited about the Samuel L. Jackson post-credit scene of, oh my god, are they actually going to maybe do the Avengers?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, it's not too much about it is what it is.
Yeah.
But um, nice to see Tony Stark show up. Just establishing that these characters and scenarios are in the same universe and aware of each other and what's going on.
Mm-hmm. No, Matt, your final thoughts, my man.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see that they were building to something bigger. It wasn't just gonna be a bunch of solo movies and stuff. Um, and yeah, it was just cool to see Tony interacting, like Delia said, in that same universe. You know what I mean? Like everything's starting to get bigger now, and there's threats and shit that they got to handle. So yeah, they need to build a bigger team.
Nice, nice. All right. Yeah, it was. It's kind of just like a scene. It's kind of like the carrot in front of the horse. So yeah, pretty much good. I liked it. I like this movie. That's all I got. Delia, where can people find you?
You can find me usually on this channel on Sundays, 6 p.m. Pacific, doing the open table with Ferris. You can also find me on the other two editions of the Rewatchers Council for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Thursdays, 3 p.m. Pacific, Angel, Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. But I'm going on a little vacation, guys, so I won't be here for those next week. We'll try to get the Iron Man 2 one done before I leave, though, so
Yeah.
I can do that. You can also find me over on the Sports Channel, Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, doing Starting 11 with Snark. This next Tuesday is my final episode of the season. Ferris will be doing the final 2 episodes of the season with Snark. And yeah, then we'll be on hiatus until next season starts. So that's that.
Nice, nice. Perfect. Matt, where can people find you, my man?
You can catch me on here sometimes reviewing shows and stuff.
Cool. All right, guys. My name is Ferris Madonna. You can find me at Ferris Madonna on Twitter. You can find me here on the Rewatches Council on the MCU, as well as I also do pop up on Buffy the Vampire Slayer versions and Angels versions. I will be there as well as like Adelia said, Sundays. But not this Sunday though. We're not doing anything this Sunday.
No, not this Sunday.
This Sunday's Mother's Day, so call your mothers, tell them how you love them, and the people who don't have any more mothers, call the people that helped you through that tough time. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I just remembered we forgot the ticker, but it is what it is. But it's fine. But on that note, everyone, stay safe, stay calm, and we'll see y'all.
Check out the description for all the links that would be in the ticker.
Yes, check the description. Everything's there. Hit those links, subscribe, do all of that. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful time, and we'll see you guys next time. It could be next week or in a couple days. We'll see.